This is Dualitea, and it's blue. For you
Hey,
and-
welcome to Duality. I'm your host Ash, and I'm here with Naomi, Blue, and Dens. Thank you for coming.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having
You're
us.
very welcome. We made the unique time tonight so that we can all accommodate for each and every one.
Facts.
And we can make time for this topic. I know this is something that I've been wanting to talk about for quite some time. And with a little bit of inspiration through Kanye's post, I've been feeling more and more
You know what?
Great
the
West.
push,
Great West.
the push to
The
talk
Great
about
West.
this because, I feel like there's a lot of different misunderstandings, misconceptions around people who tend to tap into a certain frequency at different times, and how that may look or seem for other people. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of get into that if anybody wants to spark it off.
They call me crazy all the time. I
Um,
don't know.
you know
how
what?
You know this.
Since you brought up Kanye in particular, Kanye, actually, the reason why a lot of things that Kanye started was when his mom passed away.
Word.
And so when you think about, death, it definitely impacts the mental in a way that it's not able to really be expressed, because usually when somebody dies or somebody that's really close to you that dies, and others don't know how much of an impact they have, you're kind of just told to move on. So you're not really able to heal when it comes down to that aspect. But being a spiritual being, which we all are, because we all have souls, being a spiritual being is all about, while dealing with hurt or grief, what are you feeding yourself?
Right. Literally, too, sometimes.
Yes.
And that's what's crazy.
Yeah, so it's like when you're not feeding yourself the right thing and you're going through grief, and especially in such a mainstream world, like you're the trending topic without being a trending topic. You have garbage bags and gaps, so now you're a trending topic.
Yeah.
It's
You know what
like,
I'm saying? That,
so-
I could only imagine the type of trigger that was for him, especially to be at that level. And then she died from something that was an elective. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they chose to do that. It wasn't something she had to get done. It was plastic surgery, you know? So I think that, on top of, he was at the height of his career, if we're talking about Kanye West. And then it's like, yeah, people expect you to be a robot. You know, that's a big thing, and everybody's going to forever for the rest of your life. They're never gonna feel what you feel on the inside.
And it's crazy
something you
because
gotta
it's like
accept.
those moments of like you were saying, talking about people expecting you to be a robot. When we're talking about those experiences of like having someone pass away or like these major turns of events, like they have an effect on us. And like, I just want to start off this pod by saying, like, mania is a real thing. Like, and I'm not trying to belittle or change the definition. I'm just trying to show the spectrums of it and how it's not necessarily always so, like, for lack of better words, like, crazy or completely out of nowhere. Or a lot of times it's, like, really spot on. The delivery is just kind of,
All over the place.
yeah, because it's like
They can't control their thoughts in the moment because everybody has their own like thought of this. Outside looking in, it's always gonna look different. So I've learned to be quiet, honestly, especially around certain people, because certain people don't want to believe in things like that. Certain people don't want to accept that you're not crazy. You gotta be.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because in order for you to not be crazy, that means that a lot of things that they believe in have to be not real.
Exactly.
And
that's
it's
the
like,
thing. And it's like, I think a lot of that. And then a big part of mania is not sleeping or eating. And that causes you to not sleep or eat. And then if you don't have a good routine, forget about it. So it's really about the people around you, too. They have to understand. A lot of people, even if they understand, they don't understand. So you can't expect them to,
yeah, and there's different moments that invoke that with different people, and there's different levels and layers. Like, I know for me, like, there's been different reasons and times. Like, I know at certain lows, like, I've had more of a calm mania where it's like I might have not been thinking rationally in a certain way that could be more of the mainstream term of mania. Like, when my father passed and, like, things like that, where I had, like, just, like, irrational thinking and stuff like that. But then I have, like, other aspects of, like, when I went through, like, major breakups in my life where I really believed some shit. Like, I would really believe something, and I would go, like, headstrong with it.
Right.
And I'm like, nah, no one's telling me nothing. Like, this is what I believe. And it's like, in that case, it's like, that could have been very real, and real to me, but the way I was going about it was, like, so ungrounded. And I feel like that's the part that gets missed, and, like, kind of that like, I know for right now, like, something that I've been doing to manage that, because, you know, talking about this topic, it's like, are we tapped into something, you know? And I feel like people who have the same gift of, like, tuning in and tapping into something like that, we have sensitivities. And, like, it's either sensitivities are romanticized or they are crucified, right? It's like, you can't be sensitive, you can't show emotion, or it's like, wow, I can't believe that you can see that, or I can't believe you can feel that, you know. Especially,
I rarely get that.
well, that I feel like happens a lot more in the spiritual communities, like, whether that's spiritual
Makes sense.
in the in, like, just the mainstream spiritual, or, like, even in religion, like, when the Holy Ghost touches you, when God is speaking through you, you know, when people channel things, like, these are people that either sometimes, not all, but sometimes people really sit and learn how to master and hone in on that, on tuning into these vibrations, tuning up and tuning into them. And not everybody has the guidance or the teachings for that. So the same person that you can look at and be like, wow, like, you're crazy, like, that's crazy. But then a year goes by, and, like, the stuff that they were saying turns out to, like, start happening. And then you look back at them and you're like, wow, they're prophetic. So it's like,
At that point, it's like cliche, because if you think about anybody that's truly extremely successful, they'll tell you people call them crazy. If people aren't calling you crazy, you're not dreaming big enough. You're not thinking big enough.
facts.
You're thinking like everybody else that wants you to. It's crazy, because a lot of it has to do with outside, you know, like other people. It's outside noise, if you really think about it.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, there's so much. And you know what's crazy, too? It's statistically, like, when you're on a manic high, like, there's so many people that are on a manic high right now and don't even know it. But when you're depressed, forget it. They want to pound you with medication. And so manic depressive people are diagnosed so much more frequently than somebody that's on a manic high that it's ridiculous, because people on a manic high end up getting something done and nobody can touch them
They're
anymore.
being productive, exactly.
And it's over with. And it's like, oh, okay. You know how many people you could look at right now? Anybody. You think Jeff Bezos wasn't on a manic episode when he was in his garage just funneling through books like, this is going to go somewhere? People were like, you crazy, until what? Recently. Like, maybe 15, 20 years ago, they started taking them really serious, you know?
Absolutely.
And that's it.
There's different spectrums of that, and I completely agree with you when you're saying, like, you know, how the manic highs, it's hard to see if they're disguised in things that are seemingly successful, right? Then they get viewed as like, wow, that person's super productive and motivated. But it's like, that person gonna hit a wall and they're gonna get burnt out, and maybe they're gonna say some crazy shit along the way. And are you still gonna be saying that, or are you, like, just reaping the rewards after? Like, were these people who were the people around, for example, like you said, Jeff Bezos, when he was first starting, was everyone saying that he's manic and he's crazy?
Of course. You know, he probably got locked up. His family disowned him. There's things that I'm sure that he went through, and it's just everybody. Anytime you're doing something, forget about at a high level. You just get a new job, people are envious. They don't even know why. You know, just regular little things, everyday life. So if you listen to what other people are saying, you're doomed. It's over with. Because at the end of the day, if you realize how much people actually think about you, is so little. Like, if you're not in front of me, like, I'm not thinking about you. And it's not because I don't like you, love you, whatever. It's just you're just not there, because it's just not a psychological thing. Like, some people sit in the house and they think people are thinking about them all day, and they haven't even thought about them in 2 weeks. Shit is crazy, because when I realized that delusion, it was just like, I feel like that freed me a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, bro, who cares what people say today, bro? They might be dead before this airs. Like, it's crazy. So when people think about certain things like that, they obsess over it. So.
Well, it frees the overthinker, to just pop the illusion that, like, everyone's not thinking about you all the time.
And it's not like, that's something that literally you have to run away from, because it could happen to anybody. So I tell people all the time, like, run away from certain thoughts. Like, it's better to run away from the brain sometimes than it is to just dive into it. I truly believe in that, because sometimes you'll just obsess over the same thing. And if you stop thinking about it, the moment you stop thinking about it, you'll get something done to change the situation. Yeah. So it's crazy, because we sit with these thoughts for so long sometimes. I've been through a lot of that, so I understand. And what goes up must come down. You got to keep that in mind, too. So if you're on a manic high, you're going to come down eventually at some point. And you're not even going to know why. And then it's like nobody knows why, because you don't know why. So it's like, what?
Can I interject?
I'm sorry.
No, you good. We having a conversation.
I was waiting for y'all to talk.
I'm like, I know I'm talking too much, because
That's the point of this. Like, I'm just taking in everything that you guys were saying. I think we had the discussion about manic, and a lot of times when I speak to people about manic depression and how it's categorized, especially in society or just psychology, just put it like that. But put it in the conversation of culture, music, fashion, anything, news. Manic is usually put into the category of heavy metal, okay? Now, if you listen to heavy metal, I don't know if any of the viewers have ever heard of Ozzy Osbourne. Mm-hmm. When Ozzy Osbourne was, at the high of his career, he's a heavy metal rock and roll artist,
right? Yeah.
Legend.
Yeah, legend. Yeah, I was about to say he's definitely
known for. Yes, exactly what I was about to say. He was known for his concerts of biting bats off the head, and just once again like satanic type of people that were in that type of community would gravitate to certain things like that. But the point that I'm trying to make is how the music is. When you listen to heavy metal music, it's just. And when you're thinking about how your mind is going, a person that's dealing with manic depression or have the thoughts, even if they're not diagnosed as manic or even diagnosed as having depression, just put in that category as crazy. Right. Put in a category as an outsider or somebody that, kind of just is just out of the norm. It is a constant chain effect of just constant things just coming at you, like you guys said. But the point that I'm making is you have to constantly, when you're going through those things, you have to allow yourself to remember that everybody doesn't do this, but you want to walk in the light. It goes to the yin and the yang. Because you brought up like spirituality, like mainstream spirituality, religion. Let's put it like that. Religion is man-made, but it is what helps people to stay grounded in their spirituality. It helps them to be able to be grounded in themselves, to be able to be positive in a world of negativity, or maybe in their maybe where they came, their upbringing, or who their birthrights, different things like that. Yeah. It trickles down, but it does not mean that that's who you are. And I think that's where the disconnect comes in, because it's like, well, this was that, and my great grandmother and my daddy was this, and and it's like,
forget it. The Jets been losing for so long.
It's the simple fact that the simple fact that you are able to have this knowledge of knowing that maybe this person dealt with this or maybe dealt with that, but what you don't know is what was the trigger that caused them to have that. And everything comes with a trigger. Yeah. When you brought up the whole thing about when you have going through a manic episode or something like that, or somebody's going through a manic episode, and they have this one thing on their mind. I lost my key in my studio this week, right? And this key is like it's like a single key. You know, I use it like if I'm going to go. If I don't want to carry my big janitor keys, I got like janitor keys. I got like real,
I feel you.
you know,
Me too.
rattling
I've been out in my
keys. You
pocket
gonna
right
hear
now
me
with
when
this
I
thing.
come type of keys. I got those. So I have a single key, and I could not find my key because I couldn't find my key. But I know that I'm used to putting my key in one particular area because I know me. So because I'm like, where's my key? Where's my key? You know, thinking like, you know, I'm like, where's my key? Like, I had to literally tell myself, chill. Because then I will constantly be focused on my missing key instead of knowing that it's going to show up somewhere because it's in the house because I used the key to get in the house, correct?
Okay.
Yeah. Where sometimes when you're going through something and you're just trying to, like, you just focus on that one thing, nothing else matters. And like you said, you stuck on that one thing.
Right. And you actually
Everything
miss it.
went by, but you have to literally settle your brain, literally channel yourself,
Run away from that thought.
and also give yourself grace. I don't know if, like, adulting doesn't allow us to give ourselves grace. We're not taught to give ourselves grace when we get older. I don't know if it's because maybe, you know, we get into a survival mode. We, you know, a lot of times we're guarded about a lot of stuff. Most of the time, everybody in this world is dealing with some type of hurt. If a person tell you they're not hurting, like, they're lying. Everybody's dealing with some type of hurt. So all these different things, when you're by yourself and you're really focusing on ultimately who you are outside of everybody else, that's where all, as some people would say, your demons come. But that's where also the light comes too.
Yep.
But once again, the question I said before, what are you channeling into? What are you feeding yourself into? Even if you drink alcohol. I like red wine. I'm sorry if any of my viewers see
I like
that,
white.
you know me, that don't know I like wine. I like wine. Particularly red wine. And I know because of my nature, at times I'm introverted, and I know that I don't like talking, but I can talk very well. I don't like talking because I channel too quickly, and like you said, people will
It's
be
just
like,
other
"How do you
people.
know?"
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like, how do you know you never met me? It's because I know. That's
Yeah,
why
but
I know.
That's why it's just like, you know, outside noise. I say it all the time. It's like,
But that
that's
outside
what
noise
affects
is good
people
noise, though, too.
Sometimes.
It's good noise.
It's a
good
sound
noise.
check. It's like a check. It's a check because sometimes when we're in our head so much, the outside noise pulls us out, and then we get to expand and be out of our minds.
I think you'll always know what's true for you, you know? Like, what people say, like, sometimes people are saying, you're right. Like, sometimes people are saying something that's could potentially benefit you, but it's all about how you feel about it genuinely. Because sometimes people say things and they're just saying things. They don't even know what they're saying.
Yeah, absolutely, because a lot of people are just speaking to speak, you know, and it's like something that, like, I agree and slightly disagree with something that you were saying before is like, you're saying like run away from that thought, and like for me, like it's not about running away from it, it's about like disciplining it. It's about like slapping in the face and telling it to sit down. You know what I mean? Because it's like, you're not going to obstruct my view, you're not going to get in my way, you're going to sit with me, and then I'm going to hug you because I actually appreciate you, because at some point this thought probably came up to support or protect me, because in some form it's probably a part of like my ego, and if it's not, then banished out my mind. You know what I mean? Because you can feel.
Yeah, that's amazing. If you can really sit there and do that, then.
But that takes time. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like sometimes it is running away at first. At first, that might be the first step. You know what I mean? Because it's so hard, and that comes with sitting with yourself. You know what I mean? Like there's different things, there's different times, there's different rituals with different practices. Like I know for me, like that I go through like I like most of the time, like I like to sit and like, I don't really call it meditating. I call it more having a business meeting with myself.
I like
if
that.
I have,
Because
if
you're
I
a
call it-
CEO, you the president.
Exactly. You're all the different things in your life, right? So like when you sit down, if I say I'm gonna have a business meeting with myself, I'm actually gonna usually do it. Like if I say I'm gonna take some time to maybe meditate, I'm probably not doing it. You know what I mean? And it's just the mind frame.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like saying that to myself, like, oh, okay, like now, like we need to have a business check because we need to make sure that we're all on the same page, like all different versions of myself, like where you at, like okay, boom.
The consistency.
The consistency, writing on the board, like what we're trying to focus.
Discipline.
So
Absolutely.
many people would be
the
like,
discipline.
I don't have the time to do that. That's what they would say.
Yeah,
And
but it's like, but you have the time to scroll on Instagram
Right.
all day long, though.
Exactly.
That's
the
where
whole
it goes
thing
back to
about
like,
it.
what is it that you're feeding your inner being?
Right.
Like, what is it?
Exactly.
Because some things we bring on ourselves.
I think
Like,
everything we do, really.
No,
I don't know.
Everything
Well,
we
some
don't,
things happen.
everything we don't bring on ourselves because some things are brought to us so we can learn, so we
Word.
can be stronger.
You're right, actually.
But
that sounds
everybody does not.
accurate.
Everybody does not want that pressure, like that. Like it says, pressure make diamonds.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody does not want that pressure. Everybody, it's like the easiest.
But everybody wants diamonds. Though.
Exactly. if I could get it the easy way, like that's the best way that's gonna work for me because as long as I'm shining, as long as I'm glistening, and as long as I look fabulous from the outside,
Yeah.
it's like it's so I don't know. It's just it's crazy because even when we think about just certain things, it's like if you ask a person, do you meditate?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times people be like, I don't know how to meditate. Meditation is, oh my gosh, meditation could be anywhere. Meditation could be you walking. Meditation could be you listening to your music and not so much listening to the words that it is handicapping your feelings, but listening to the words in the element of, okay, how do I come out of this feeling that is causing me to be handicapped?
Mm-hmm. Like that. Yeah,
Because that's what meditation is. Meditation is helping you to ground yourself, helping you to form a sense of balance, helping you to be able to take out those negative, naysayings that we say to ourselves, like, hey, bitch.
Mm-hmm. I know people.
I've gotten, like, even to myself, I've gotten so crucial, or I'm so critical about certain things now where it's like, if I know I look good, I'm not calling myself a bitch. I'm not, because I know I could be a bitch. I know I could be a bitch, but I know I'm not a bitch.
No,
You know exactly what I'm saying.
There's a lot of things like that. Like I was having a conversation and we talking about people that they're going through something, even if they're saying it joking, like you're killing me, or I'm gonna have a heart attack, or just putting those words in the air. I just don't believe in. Like I just feel like even before when we were starting this shit, like I was joking around. And it's like I believe that words are like curses for real, like, and they can be blessings at the same time or whatever. They're powerful.
It spells. That's why it's called spelling.
Yeah, I
It's
know,
like
exactly.
like,
Yeah,
it's crazy.
There's all that
It's
information is out there. That's what's crazy about it. It's like it's out there. You just need to be. A lot of people don't want to know. A lot of people just want to
They're
live
afraid of
there.
it.
A lot of people like staying on the surface, but they fail to understand. Even a surfer, when they go in the ocean, they gotta go into the water. Like there's a chance that they're gonna be overtaken by the wave.
Right.
They're not just gonna be gliding and looking pretty. Like, nah, it's gonna get rocky. They might get some scrapes, and then some might just glide through. So it's like, which one do you want to be, metaphorically and literally?
Right. And like you said about rushing things, it's like trust the process, because it's crazy. Because everybody, especially these days, you have all of this like instant gratification. And it's like instant gratification doesn't really exist, man, because if you don't trust the process and you don't take your time with anything, you're going to miss something. Guarantee you're going to miss something along the way that could help you in the long run. So it's like, regardless, people shoot themselves in the foot by trying to find a shortcut a lot of the time.
And I'm not saying that I don't want instant gratification.
Of course,
sometimes,
man.
'cause I'm not gonna hold you. I want it. I am like, if I could have certain things right now, right then and there, like immediately,
Right.
I would be like, but I know that there's J. Cole said it best. Love yours.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much beauty in the
struggle.
process.
Yeah.
There's so much beauty and so much everything. Like,
Mm-hmm.
even when you mess up, if you took the time to learn the lesson and where you messed up, that means that you're already doing better.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to also be cautious of the lessons that come to you, whatever the lesson may be. I mean, everybody's lesson is different. Some lessons may be, picking the right lottery ticket.
Mm-hmm.
Some may be, making sure you put the recycle out.
Right.
After. It could be something so innocent. But with that, you just have to make sure, like, you know what it is that you are trying to. It's crucial about, like, when it comes down to the different thoughts about the manic and the tapping in,
Mm-hmm.
you got to be careful about the time of day.
Hmm.
I'm sorry, I got to bring this up.
Don't apologize.
And I'm sorry, I added the pause.
Yo, go ahead. I'm
I
like, wait,
know.
something's coming.
Pause. Now you're literally you're living it.
Because
though.
I'm like, wait, because I don't want to forget this.
Yeah, no, but you're living it though. You don't need to apologize for that.
The time of day. As creative people, and everybody that's watching may not be a artist or somebody that feels as if they're have a creative inkling, but everybody has some sense of a talent.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, we have a thought process as well as an imagination. Okay. Be cautious of the time of day, because in the day, how do you, let me ask you, how do y'all feel when y'all in the daytime? Like, I want to say like 8 to probably like 3 o'clock.
I'm gone.
Going like how?
I'm just on autopilot these days, but I'm just going. I don't know. It's you asked me how I feel, and I feel like I kind of don't know how I feel.
Okay, rightfully so. How do you feel? Okay, now you said you don't know how you feel. How does the atmosphere around you feel? How does your environment feel? Like, you and we in the studio, it feel cool, right? We vibing, we chilling, right?
Oh, it's aggravating that during that time everybody's around.
Okay,
There's
so
so many people.
All right. So for you in the day, it may be aggravated, it may be a certain way, and you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Ash, what about you?
Yeah, for sure.
During the day, it's just overwhelming. There's so many active minds doing things,
Yeah,
and
everybody's
depending on whatever kind of structural system I've set up for my day, whether that's work, whether that's doing something, like, it depends. Sometimes but it really depends though, because if it's during the day and I find somewhere like a nook in nature where I'm by myself, I feel peace. But if I'm like around a bunch of people, especially we live in the city, like, and everyone's just going and going. Even when I'm in my car during the day, it's just everyone's going and going. It's like I feel like I just go to autopilot, because it's like I almost check out because it's just too much around me.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel at night, sunset, when the sun starts to set? Like, when the sun starts to set and it's
Probably
dark
my
night.
most relaxing time.
Okay.
I hate the overnight. 3 a.m. I can't be up anymore. I used to be up all the time at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny you say times, because I just feel like no matter what, like, you always feel something at that time. Like,
At
around
what,
the-
3 o'clock?
Yeah. in the
Okay.
morning.
What about you, Ash?
I used to be up at that time a lot more. I'm not really anymore.
Nah, I'm good.
I'm not really up at that time anymore, but I don't really feel I don't feel a way. I know what that time is, and I respect it. You know what I mean? I put respect on that time. I'm in that time. If I'm in that time, if I'm not in that time, I'm okay to be sleeping. But if I'm in that time, then I'm okay to be up too. It's just I feel like once it hits like late night, once it's like after 2, especially like 3 going into 4, there's a certain energy of that time.
Yeah,
So it's like either I'm up and I'm active and I'm aware, or I'm asleep and I'm probably still aware but asleep.
All right. Perfect. All right. Most times, and I'm happy that y'all both said that. I'm happy that you both said that. In the daytime, yes. Crack of dawn usually is the most calmest during the day. Like that crack
it
of,
really
like,
is.
it's like,
Yeah, absolutely.
I would like that 4, 5, 5-ish. Transitioning into 6, that's where it like just start peaking, like it just start getting a little wire.
It's crazy, because I love waking up at 5
And
o'clock
I'm
in the
happy.
morning.
It's the best time to do awake and bake.
Like, right. That's what I'm saying. Wow, that's crazy, because people tell me I should not wake up at 5 a.m.
And so
Yeah, that's why
now
you gotta
you
listen to
going
yourself.
now you going into your
And-
day. All right. Now say if you live with people or maybe if you go outside or whatever the case may be, everybody is dealing with something. So automatically, like you said, you go into autopilot mode, but it's overwhelming. It's so overwhelming because it's like a hustle and bustle. It was like boom,
Everybody's
boom, boom.
there. You're saying,
But in your mind, what your mind is, how your mind feel? We getting somewhere. How your mind feel?
how
During
does
the
it
day?
feel, or like, where I don't know. Truthfully, I feel like that's when I think of a lot of things too.
But you're on
Yeah.
autopilot, right?
Yeah.
So you're not really thinking because you're on autopilot.
I'm thinking about like what's about to happen.
So you're subconsciously somewhat thinking in a form of way.
Yeah, I feel like I don't be
Yeah.
thinking. I do my best thinking at night. I feel like during the daytime, I'm definitely like, I feel like I'm more anxious during the day, and then at night, I find like peace with myself and my surroundings.
Okay. When do you feel like you probably had your most powerful manic episode?
Definitely, like during time, like the time of day.
Or is it you think it's in the daytime? Or do you feel like it's in the day or the nighttime?
I don't even know. I mean, when
It's
I tell
been
you
every
my
time
manic
for me.
episode lasted for months. So I don't know. I mean, my highest moments were definitely during the day because that's when I was running around. So I don't know, actually. But
Okay.
I can't even get back to that point to even give you what I felt in that moment because I kind of blocked it out.
What about you, Ash?
It's been every single time. It's been night. It's been morning. It's been for breakfast, for dessert. Like, you know what I mean. I felt it at all different times. Depends on that space. You know, depends on the trigger. Like, depends on a lot of different things. The environment, the time, a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
The key thing of everything is that everything that was said in all of this was that autopilot. Autopilot. When you think of a plane being on autopilot or you being on a plane on autopilot, everything is still. But you're still moving. Okay?
Right.
So, and when it comes down to the day and when it comes down to the night, okay, it's so important to allow yourself a time to collect whatever. If you know you already feel like you don't know, then you need to be like, let me collect that I don't know.
I feel like I definitely will be.
Like,
I'm gonna be like, how
because
do I feel right now?
because it has a sense of a substance and it has a sense of a matter, because if it didn't, you wouldn't feel it, right?
Right.
Now, when it comes down to the nighttime, the same way with light and dark, okay? If you know that your mind is going in a certain way or you know that you're in a certain high, right? The same way the dark, like the sun goes down, that's when the dark is more heightened. So if you are taking that time to trying to figure out, like, why do I feel like I don't know? And if you're seeing it as a negative, when you go into the night, that energy already know that you're focusing on that dark part of the yin and the yang. Now, even when you come into the day, okay, you go into your whatever, but because you already on like, I just got to get through the day, it's gonna be over. You already got your mind set on it's gonna be overwhelming.
Yeah,
you already got your mind set on like, I'm gonna be manic. Like, you already put it in you already put a whole projection on yourself that you didn't even have to put on yourself just because your mind is going. Everybody's mind is going. Like, if somebody tell you their mind is not going, they are dead. Or literally it has been fried by some type of something. I'm
just numbed.
Like,
you know,
it's
that's the thing though, is like, I feel like a big reason why a lot of people get looked at as crazy for having quote unquote manic episodes or just having raw emotion kind of take the wheel for a while. Like, I think that most people in society have been numbed and have like stepped out of their body, out of their vehicle, and they're just like, they're not even attached to it at that point. And it's like, a lot of people wish that they could feel, you know, as much as other people do, but then at the same token, you know, criticize it because that's another societal coping mechanism. And it doesn't mean that it's okay, because it's truly not. In fact, it's like bullying, you know, is jealousy. And but it's like, once again, wanting the diamonds but not wanting the pressure. And that's what we were kind of talking about with the sensitivity earlier. Like, in the spiritual community, everyone wants to glorify mediums and psychics and intuitives, but then, like, the same person that will look at you and be like, yo, I really don't think that you should go here, or I really don't think you should do that, or whatever the case is, and then they want to, like, shun that person, you know what I mean, or whatever the case is. And given, you know, sometimes people who are sensitive aren't necessarily grounded all the time, and do sometimes give unwarranted advice. So if it's not warranted and someone's giving it, okay, you know, yes, there is a balance that needs to happen there. But once again, like, if you're seeing, and I strongly encourage anybody who's listening to this pod, or like whatever the case is, if it's something that you feel like happens to you, is like, I know for myself, like, what helps me to not get into that manic mode is, like, just grounding myself. And that looks different for everyone. Like, I like to wear certain grounding oils, like patchouli or vetiver or cedarwood, you know, and just be like, or touch a tree, or literally pick up a rock, like, you know. And I'm not talking about crystals, because sometimes you'll pick up a crystal and you'll go up, like, and when you go up, you go down. So, like, picking up a blade of grass, you know, nibbling on a mushroom, like, responsibly, and, you know, like, doing different things, like having roots, drinking root tea. Like, I know for me, in my chart, for example, like, my major 3, I don't have earth. Like, I have fire, I have water, and I have air. So I need to put extra effort into grounding myself. So at the same token, it's like, you know, the same thing that people love about me is the same thing people, like, ridicule about me. And that's something that I've noticed. And I'm like, when I started taking responsibility and not building shame on it, I feel like that's when I started really accepting myself, because it's like, at the end of the day, you can call me whatever you want. You can say whatever you want to do. Listen, I'll sit here and I'll talk to you about it. Pull up on the podcast. We can talk to everybody about it. I have no issue with it, because at the end of the day, I know where I've been. I know what I'm doing now, and where I'm aiming to go. So it's like, I know that there are times that I haven't been grounded, and I cringe at that sometimes, but I'm human. You know, I'm human. And I thought about something earlier, and I was just like, oh my God, why? And then I was just like, it's okay, let it go. You know, you gotta forgive yourself. You didn't mean it for it to express like that. Like, sometimes when you get in those manic modes, it's because, like, it's literally, it's your rescue. It's like, you're so hurt from something that if you don't go manic, or like given like a burst of emotion about something, like almost adverse, whatever you're feeling,
you turn into an empty cedar.
Yeah, or you turn into the person perpetuating the same trauma that's perpetuated to you. I know, like, having, like, I remember the specific moment I was thinking about earlier. I was like, damn, like, I didn't even realize that I was so hurt from the information I was receiving from a person, that my response was just, like, so kind, when really I was so hurt. Like, I was so hurt, and it was like, it was almost fake, because it's like, I'm truly not a fake person. Like, if I don't like something, like, I can't pretend, or if I don't like someone, I can't pretend I don't. Like, I'll just kind of keep to myself, and I'll be respectful, you know what I mean? But I just, like, I can't be fake about it. Like, that, I don't have it in me. So to look back and to see that, it wasn't that it was fake. It was like the pop, the trigger, the defense, the mania crept in, and I was like extremely nice. Where I was like super nice about a whole bunch of stuff that I'm like, and I looked back and I cringed, because I was like, ooh, I didn't even feel that way. That was just like, but I thought I did in that moment, and that's the only reason why I was able to deliver it.
There'll be so many cringing moments during things like that if you let yourself, you know. But everybody has their own. Forget it, man. People. Telling you, it's all outside noise. Same things that are people putting you through, telling you that you're wrong for, they do themselves a lot of the time, which is crazy.
Just in the dark, yo. Yeah. Like, in the dark, like, it's vulnerable to be like, this is a vulnerable ass topic. This is a vulnerable ass podcast. You know what I mean? To come up on here and to talk about this shit, like, most people can know and resonate with it, but they would never come up on here and talk about it. But at the end of the day, like, we're taking that time to do so because it's bigger than us. Like, it's not just us that feel that. Other people feel these things. Like, you know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm saying. Like, they're not alone.
Exactly.
We're not alone.
We're not
alone.
You know
what
exactly.
I'm saying?
They're not alone. We're not alone. But with knowing that they're not alone and we're not alone. It's big to be grounded on whatever your spirituality is. That's one. Because your spirituality is what's connected to your soul.
That's your foundation.
That is your foundation. Personally, me personally, I grew up very religious. I grew up religious as a child. Now as an adult, I'm still grounded in my religion, but I'm very spiritual. I'm a very spiritual being. And having to learn my spiritual part of me helped me to understand that your higher power, like, or some people say the universe, it is what's going to help you maneuver in this world. It is what's going to help you to withstand what some would say be a generational curse. It will be what will help you to withstand, different things that you thought that you wouldn't be able to break through, because you're allowing yourself to understand your spiritual being. Just because, and it goes back to what I said originally, just because you're born in something, it does not mean that that's who you have to be. It's just something that's connected to you. But it's bigger than that, because you're an individual. You're your own person. And another thing I wanted to say, I brought up the topic about, red wine. I brought up red wine. But I brought it up for a reason, because on the outside looking in, if you talk to somebody like, I like wine, and they're like, you like wine? And you're talking about, like, alcohol, drugs, recreational things, those are one of the biggest negatives. And I'm saying this because I had to even tell, this is what, it comes with giving yourself grace too. It is the things that will bring you down when you're not taking the time to understand what is really happening with you. Now, if you understand it, I'm seasoning my gifts, so I understand it. But if you don't understand it, and if the outside looking in does not understand it, this is where you turn out to be crazy. This is where somebody like Kanye will be seen as primarily crazy. We don't know what Kanye does. We don't know his life. We're not talking bad about Kanye at all. We got to put that out there too, because these celebrities, they out here going crazy for people. We're not talking bad about Kanye, because if we look at how Kanye is moving now, what is he transition? It's all about God. God this, God that, like God. He wants people to walk towards the light. But something causes, which is a trigger, whatever happens in, it causes a trigger. So in the outside world, what is he seen as? A lunatic, a manic, bipolar, everything that society kind of like put you in that category of. But once again, you don't know you don't know.
Nothing.
So with all of that being said, and even us having this conversation, it's not about, we don't know, we don't understand, and sometimes we feel overwhelmed and it's intense. It's a way where it can be intense and it could be overwhelming, but it could be so refreshing. And that's what I want the people out here to understand. Like, I want the viewers to understand that in that intenseness, in that overwhelmingness, when I wake up in the morning, I literally be like, Lord, what is the day about to bring? Because I know automatically, as soon as I walk outside, I know it's going to be overwhelming. But because I took that moment to give myself grace, knowing that knowing me, knowing that I'm able to absorb certain things, knowing that energy comes, knowing that things just, firsthand. Wow. Things gravitate. Because of that, it's like you literally have to put a shield on yourself. Yep. If your shield is, beads, if your shield is, putting holy oil on you, if your shield is taking a holy bath, I have a baptism here with it, because it's needed. No, it's needed, because you could do it in a community, but you have to know how to do it by yourself.
It's self-care.
It's more sacred. It has more hold to it, and it shows that one, you can't break easily. I'm not saying that you're not going to cry. I'm not going to say you're not going to have emotions. You're supposed to have emotions. You don't have emotions, you need to check back in. Just saying. But at the same time, it won't be so much where you're like a little baby. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, where you can do it yourself. Like, you can do the maintenance. It's like, you know, you learn the recipe, you have the instructions, you do this stuff with your community, and then you start building with yourself in that relationship with yourself, where you have that business meeting with yourself, and you're like, what do I need? And then you start smelling lemon, and you're like, all right, I need lemon. Boom, I need this, I need that, and you just listen to yourself, and like you were saying, you know, that could look different for everybody. That might be a bracelet, that might be a necklace, that might be putting on a hat, wrapping your head, like that might be putting Florida water on you. You know what I mean? That's gonna look different for everybody. But just doing those, that's a whole other pod. Like, it's just like doing
but
those things for you.
No, but it's
It
entwined
really
with it
is.
because
And
it's
I
talking
just
about
wanna-
tapping in.
For
It goes
sure, 'cause
into the whole everything.
You gotta clean yourself, and like I mean, what I'm saying is like the spiritual cleansing of yourself is a whole other pod. But like I completely agree with you. How it plays into this is like, the thing is, if you're an antenna, right, and you're tuning into the things that are on and around you, you got to be aware of what's on and around you. So you got to clear the things that are on and around you. Because if you aren't clearing the things that are on and around you, you're going to start channeling some shit, and that shit's going to be scary.
Yeah. And it's going to attach to you, and you're going to be trying to figure out, and it's real.
Yeah.
The same way you could watch the same way you could watch a horror movie, or the same way you could watch, you know, whatever pop culture wise. You got to think of it in that form of way, metaphorically.
Yeah.
Because some people dream. Sometimes you got to think of when you have a dream, okay? And a lot of times, personally, now that I'm getting older, I write my dreams down. Sometimes when certain people that are in my dreams that are connected to me, that are, you know, connected to my heart, I will tell them the dream, even if I don't know what's going on. And you're not going to know what's going on in the person's life, but you can be that warning. And sometimes it can be a warning for you as well. So certain things where you're like, what the fuck? Why did I just have this fucking crazy ass dream? Why I had this crazy ass dream? Excuse my profanity. You take the time and you look at, who did you just come in contact with the other day? Did you just curse some lady out? Did somebody, did you brush up against somebody and you was like, and it made you feel like eerie? Like, take time and pay attention to those feelings that you feel. Because you're not feeling those things for void at all. A mother's intuition. A mom could be like, yo, that person my mom has told me many a times, like, that person right there, like, don't do it. Don't. And it's like, how do you know? But it's the intuition of a mom, just because she's connected to you and you coming from her. You birth from her. So it's certain things like that. Now, with you have to listen to those intuitions with you, because now you're your own being, and it's okay. Just don't be going mad, because let me tell you, everybody got a bit of crazy in them, and they just not telling you, because why? They're afraid.
Yeah, they can't tell you.
And they're
it's
afraid,
true.
and
They
then
can't tell people, because if they do tell certain people, it's like,
it's a mask.
Well, it's like, exactly, it's a mask. It's like, because it's bound to come out. That's why when you date certain people, like, you date them and you're like, wow, like, I love everything about this person, and then you start dating them for a while, and then you're like, wow, what the fuck is going on here? Like, this shit is a little fucking wonky right now. Like, I didn't anticipate any, you know, because they put their right foot forward. You know what I mean? And then you want to take people's word for face value, but if it's, it's like, I feel like
such a weight.
I feel like so many relationships that we have, especially romantic relationships, are to show us to trust our intuition.
It is.
Like, so many of them are. Like, it's a lot. Sometimes I want to say it's even annoying, but I want to say that because I appreciate your spirit.
It is,
you know what I mean?
It's
but like,
frustrating.
it could be annoying. You know what I mean? It just be like,
let it be known.
The ones that replay over and over again definitely do, because you be like, okay, like,
like, let it be known.
At this point, But then you have to check in with yourself, like, okay, well, when will I learn? Because when I'm not, like, what lesson and I'm not learning? Because it don't even gotta be the same person. It could be the same lesson that shows up in different bodies over and over and over again. So once again, like, coming to from all of that to what we were saying, back to the topic is, like, in order for us to discern whether we're in a manic space or, you know, or really tapping into something, is really just checking in with yourself. And it's like, when you start feeling like you're floating, like, you know, when you're having those conversations and you're like, boom, 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 shit's getting faster, you're just like getting hype and hype and hype, and you just feel like, you know, that, like, that's a really good time to check in. Like, that's a really good time to be like, pause.
No, it is.
That's
Maybe
what
I
I'm
need to
saying. Like,
chill.
when you pause, I'm like, I'm happy you paused. I'm happy you paused, because that's one of the biggest things that I started doing. Once I started doing this podcast, especially the fact that I do it live, right? So super vulnerable, right?
And
If
I don't like talking to everybody.
Like, if anyone burps, hiccups, does some shit weird, like, y'all see it, point blank, period. Like, and I'm not gonna sit there and snip it out and cut it. Besides this one time, but that's a different story. Anyway, Kenny knows, but it's okay. And like, I took like a loud gulp of tea, and I was like, I can't stand to know this exists. I was like, I can't stand to know this exists. It needs to go. But yeah, anyway, I told y'all anyway. But yeah, so like I was saying before, it's just like, you know, it's just about
be
like,
vulnerable.
Yo, be vulnerable,
but be
and
cautious.
Be
cautious in your vulnerability. Yo,
absolutely,
it's okay to be vulnerable, but be careful
be.
for nothing in your vulnerability. Think of it of when you go to the club, they tell you not to leave your drink. Think of yourself in that way. Because if you go in a way of like, I'm gonna be vulnerable, like you people. I'm an introvert, but I can be extroverted as can be.
Don't leave yourself.
Don't leave yourself open.
Don't leave yourself unattended.
Do not, because that's the quickest way for you to overwhelm yourself while you sitting up here trying to fix yourself. Oh my God.
Well, that's the thing too, and that's like, and that's why calling your name, saying your full name 3 times and calling yourself back. That's a really great tool if you need to ground yourself. Like saying your name 3 times and just calling yourself back, because sometimes we leave ourselves places. This has been like, so something that I've been like really like, you know, back and forth hyperfixated on for the past few weeks is like, I was having a conversation with my friend, and my friend who just came on the podcast last week, we were sitting at the table outside and we're talking about a bunch of different things. And I was just like reading this book. There's this book that's like, a book of like ancient knowledge, whatever. I'm getting a bunch of details, doesn't matter. Let me get to the point. The point is, like, I'm sitting there and I'm like, it's crazy because we talk about spirituality and all this stuff. Like, it's so mystical and it's so unattainable, but yet close your eyes right now. And I did this the other day on the podcast. I'm like, close your eyes right now. I'm like, walk into this table. You can do that. If you close your eyes, you can walk into this table. Now you're standing in the middle of this table. Now imagine, like, it's that simple, right? So now imagine all of the places we leave ourselves with all of the scenarios we create. Call yourself back. Because if you don't feel connected to yourself, it's probably because you're not connected to yourself. Call yourself back. If you're sitting there overthinking about this relationship, this person, you know, this old job, this person that passed away, all these different things, you're leaving yourself in places. It doesn't mean that you can't do it. It just means that remember to call yourself back. And once you do that, you can be a lot more firm. You know, have that foundation, whatever your belief system is. Do your prayers, do your work, do your cleansings, and you'll realize that a lot of times that you'll start to mold that mania right into tapping into something. And then for the person who's crazy in the corner, you'll actually hone that gift and be the person who's gifted in the front. So allow yourself to give yourself that grace and that space, because we're all learning. We don't have a manual, and we're trying to figure it out the best that we can. That's why we gravitate towards like-minded people. And it's about having these vulnerable conversations and talking about these things so that we can share our experiences, to know that you're not alone, you're not crazy. You might be bugging sometimes, but that's okay. I love you still. And just sit down and figure it out. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need to get pumped with a whole bunch of medication, this, that, and the third. Not to say that medication shouldn't exist. In certain cases, that's the only option at the moment. But at the same token, nothing is meant to be long term. Like, there are different things. It's just we don't have our resources. We're so disconnected from our roots and our elders and our traditions. And there's so many ways that are just so blinded and be honest. Like, at the end of the day, if somebody does have a mental, imbalance, right? Let's talk about what food and what herbs are going to help sustain long term so that the body can start producing them on their own, not putting in synthetic things that are just going to compensate for a small amount of time until that person is numbed, and then they deplete themselves because they can't start producing it themselves on their own. Let's talk about like long term root causes, not these quick, fast things. Listen, I understand sometimes your headache hurts, you got to take an Advil. I get it. You know what I mean? Like, I understand that. And I have compassion for that. And at one point in time, I didn't. Like, I didn't have compassion for that because I was so strict on myself. I was like, I don't care how much pain I'm in. I'm not taking Advil. That's just tricking my brain. That doesn't mean the pain's going away. And it's like, but at the same token, there's grace. Like, we're all learning. If medication is the only thing that you have attainable to yourself, that's, do what you have to do. And then seek out what is going to help you long term, because there are other things. There are alternatives. There are different people. And I'm not talking about your guru on Instagram. I'm not talking about the girl that studied something for 5 days and starts running a module course. Like, no shade, just facts. Like, look for the older people who have been doing this their life, that learned it from their countries. The people that have been sitting there and studying, that are teachers but still will never stop being a student. Those are the people that you want to learn from.
Yeah, there's natural medicine out there. Again, talking about root, burdock root. Anything green is a good thing. It's just so many things. I just don't believe in any kind of antipsychotic medication.
Your diet plays a big part in a lot of stuff. Even for people that's, like if I'm not vegan and I'm not vegetarian. I personally can't be, but I'm borderline pescatarian. Okay, because I eat a lot of seafood. Okay. But even with eating like chicken or eating like maybe red meats, even certain things like that, like I personally believe you shouldn't eat so much of it. Like in my household growing up, we didn't eat red meat. My mom didn't eat it, so we didn't eat it. But we did eat like chicken and we ate seafood. And now as an adult, I find myself more being swayed to more of like a plant diet, a seafood diet. And like I said, maybe a little red meat here or there, cheating wise, because I probably want to gain some weight, if that. But with that, you have to be cautious because that stuff sits in your body too. It sits in your body. It weighs you down. Like, I wish I could go more into this because I wish I could really go more into it and really let it be known that like our bodies are like sponges. So when you are in an environment and and you have a knowledge that you are like a sponge, and everybody doesn't know this, but if you know that you have something about you that is different from the next, because this is not for everybody, but it's for a good massive amount of people. If you know you are that, you have to really allow yourself, I feel like I'm saying the same thing over and over again, but I feel like it's needed because that is what really causes these different manic episodes.
Yeah,
when really and truly, and it really could be just. Well, I know for me, I know if I ain't got no sleep, it's a wrap for everybody. I know that, and anybody that knows me know, like, yeah, she needs sleep. She needs sleep because, and it will cause you to be unwired. It will cause you to not be a certain way. Just at some point, you have to be careful. You have to want to heal yourself. And if you're healing yourself, your thoughts will be transformed. Just do it. I can't, I cannot say, somebody will be like, well, how do you know? You have to do it. You have to literally exercise it like a student in school. If you're giving a test, the teacher's not giving you the answers. They're going to hope that you went home, study what they gave you, and hopefully you will master this test or you will get a high score on it or just maybe skate by. But all in all, you have to be able to allow yourself, we said grace, With you giving yourself grace, that means that you're allowing yourself to forgive yourself from the things that you probably didn't have the knowledge of knowing what was right and what was wrong. But if you do know now, you're able to do better. Being able to understand that everybody is not meant to understand. That is okay. That means that you are extraordinary.
Oh,
Like
extraordinary.
it's okay. And every celebrity is not extraordinary. I must say that, so you don't think, oh, your celebrity is some god. No. Because your celebrity is putting up a facade to make you feel as if they're this massive person. They had to struggle too, and they had things that they was going through too. And some of them ain't trying to heal. But if you are, you have to be able to say, okay, this is what I want. This is what it's going to be. This is how I'm going to be able to reach my higher spiritual level and tap into whatever my higher power is. And be careful of vomit of the mouth. Because vomit of the mouth is literally that. Vomit is garbage. You cannot eat vomit. You cannot eat vomit.
Yeah,
it's like pretty nothings.
That sounds horrible.
It's literally pretty nothings.
No, yeah.
So
Yeah,
if
you
you know
can't
you
digest
ain't
it,
having
so
no
it's just-
substance,
it's not going nowhere.
Yeah, like if you know it ain't nothing, you just literally giving to the gray cloud that's already over the world.
That's why it's like consolidation, right? Like getting, like, what's the point? All right, boom. Like without the fluff. Like I feel like I'm constantly doing that to myself, checking like even like what I said before, I'm like, all right, that's too much detail. Let me get to the point. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, although like detail works and there's a place for it, you know, sometimes you get so lost and you lose the whole point, and you got to find that again, you know. And like you were saying before, like something. It's funny because I literally, when I was talking outside right before you came, I was talking about you and I was explaining how like.
And I walked right past y'all like, I'm right.
Yo,
Yeah, right,
but I
like,
was
yeah.
literally
All
using
over
the
the place.
terminology talking about sponge. So that's why I'm laughing. As soon as he's talking about sponge, I started laughing because I was like literally talking about how, like when you pull up to the moon, it's like how a lot of times I just sit back and I'm just like, word. Like,
And I be
you
like,
know.
You always be like, stop saying sorry, stop saying that. I be like,
Yeah,
I'm
no,
just-
for
I'm
real,
just
because
trying
it
to-
helps.
I be like, I'm
It
just
helps.
here.
Not
Just
only
polite.
me, but
You
so
be
many
like,
people
no.
around, because you're allowing that flow state to come in, right? And that's the thing, is like mastering, understanding, and giving discipline to mania is actually like allowing flow state to exist, right? Everybody glorifies and romanticizes flow state. And the thing that I was going to say before too is like, so if we know we're sponges, right, and we go into a place, a lot of the times things that trigger us could look like, you know, everybody wants to start a project, right? Everybody wants to start a project, but nobody's doing nothing. And then all of a sudden, we're just manic with this thought because we're a fucking sponge. And
Oh
we're
my
like,
God.
yo, we want to open up an art studio? Bet. Like,
Nah.
I'm going to just go full speed ahead. I'm contacting everybody. I'm
And then
calling
everybody's
everybody.
Like, what? And yeah,
And
those
it's like people are like,
conversations
how'd you
sometimes.
even do that? Would
It's
that even
funny
happen?
that you
And
even said that, because I always tell people, like, tell me what we're doing. Like, say if we had to go somewhere, like, and you was like, we're going, blah, blah, blah. Tell me what we're doing. If we're not doing it, don't tell me we're doing it.
Right.
Because if
right,
we're
right.
not doing it and I say, all right, I'm not going, I don't want you to be upset that I said I'm not going, because I conditioned my mind that this is what we was going to do. Even now, you always, I'm always joking, be like, now that I'm a seasoned adult, I even tell my parents, because parents, they be so set in their ways. So it's like, but it's like, if you told me that this is what we're going to do, and if you did not tell me it, and I was in a certain way, don't be upset that I don't want to go. And don't make it seem like, and it goes down to anybody in relationships too. You could be in a relationship with somebody and they'd be like, well, can we do this? And you'd be like, no, but that's all boundaries. And there's nothing wrong with having boundaries, because people give boundaries and they ruthless with it, wicked.
Yeah, well.
Sorry I had to
that's-
say it that way.
That's the whole thing.
yeah, well, I'm sorry, you were saying?
What you want to say?
No, that's the whole thing about it, is like boundaries, and as far as relationships go, like, you have to just respect each other's boundaries. And if you don't have anything in place, then they're bound to get cross.
Well, that's why you gotta set boundaries with yourself.
Well,
Because then that's where it starts.
Because
It's
what
like,
you allow will continue.
Exactly.
That's
It
the whole
will.
thing.
exactly, and then it'll just manifest through another person.
Yeah.
And spirit will be like, you learn yet? You got
Yes.
those boundaries with yourself,
And spirit
or
will be rough on
nope.
you if you're not learning.
Not yet. One more time. Nah, I know how it goes.
The more knowledge you gain, the more overwhelming it will be. That's what I've been
that's
wanting.
the part.
I
That's
know,
the part.
That's the part. Because I said it the other time. And I was like, I'm going to say it before I leave. I'm going to say it before I leave.
What was it? I know it was overwhelmed.
We have these meetings that we do. Ash does these meetings, and sometimes I pull up to him from time to time. And the last one that we had, it was so great. Like, it was so great. And in it, I just basically was like, I told them, the more knowledge you gain, the more overwhelming it will be. Mm-hmm. If you are taking in something, you better be prepared for whatever you are asking for. Mm-hmm. It goes back to be careful what you ask for, because you might just get it. If you ask for a heart of flesh, okay, meaning you're actually feeling something. That's what I mean by heart of flesh. And you're able to have a sense of sensitivity. Don't be upset that now you able to be sensitive to how a person feel and you was numb to it a month ago. But you asked for that sensitivity. Mm-hmm. Now, if you ask for a heart of stone, come on, go with me. If you ask for a heart of stone, don't be upset if people is treating you like you got a stone heart.
And you don't feel nothing.
Come on, go.
You can't even feel no happiness now.
Why am I giving you grace when you was trying to give me a stone?
Yeah.
Why should somebody else give you grace when you ask for a stone heart? Now, somebody that asks for a heart of flesh, that means that they're asking to feel whatever it is, even whatever it may be. But that means that it's also causing them to have some type of discipline. Some people don't have that. You be that person. That's all I'm going to say. Like Nike, just do it.
Hey, that's...
Sorry.
That's the truth.
No, don't apologize.
I know, but you know, sorry.
Thank you.
I know you.
Thank you.
But yes, but be educated. Be educated. Be educated. Just don't be Don't be educated in nonsense. Don't be educated in what reality TV ain't reality TV.
A lot of bullshit.
Yeah, find your balance between education in real life and in the books. Like,
yeah, a lot of things aren't taught in books.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of
it's
things
life.
But things are constantly, like we were talking about outside, is like, you know, like there's so many different times that you see somebody in the street, right? Like, say someone's who's homeless or who's like on drugs outside or whatever the case is, and like they say they're just spitting some facts. They just spitting some facts, and you just walk past it. You walk past like we walk past the person or the situation or whatever the case is, and you're like, I needed to hear that. Like, you're right. You absolutely
talking to
right.
each other, you don't even know it.
Yeah, like that's crazy, you know, and like, or even when you're
man.
walking past a conversation, or even when you're swiping on your phone and like you only catch a glimpse of something, like that's something that's saying for a reason, right? And it's like, because once again, mania and antenna, like this, there's a correlation in my brain, like that I see, and you know, and I believe y'all see it too, and if you don't correct me, you know, and I believe that a lot of people see it is like when someone, no matter what, like someone could just take a rip of a crack rock, but like somehow they attune to this station, and that station is exactly what you needed to hear. Doesn't mean I'm advocating to take a hit of a crack rock. That's not what I'm trying to say here. What I'm trying to say here is like
no, we're not glad somebody took the bullet.
Nah, it's not right. It came off.
What I'm trying to say is like what I'm trying to say is like there's so many people that have this sensitivity and ability and don't know what to do with it, and sometimes get lost in a really dark path. So I really pray for all of those people that are sensitive to find that themselves as valuable sources of information, and to look to like-minded people, and to go into good environments where you feel light, you know, and you get to pray. And even if that shows up like you're at a church, and even if you don't want to stay at a church, even if that just is the opening gate, you know, and then, or you find your solace in a park, you know, you find your solace with these different people that are like-minded, because it is so easy to get caught up in that darker space and be used as a tool of malice. And you know, I feel like a lot of the folks that are sensitive and receptive, unfortunately, end up going down that route, you know. So I want to pray for those people that they find their light, you know, and I want to pray for those people that are somewhere in between to really go towards their light, you know, because you're needed. Right. Your sensitivity is beautiful, and it's brave to be yourself, you know, and to utilize that. And we can't be good at everything as soon as we try, as much as we'd like to be.
Everything takes practice.
Yeah,
It's
we
like
gotta
10,000 hours.
And with that being said, like, we all understand the overwhelmingness, like you said, with praying, because of the overwhelmingness, and because a lot of times we're born with different gifts. We're born with certain gifts, okay? And certain gifts we're giving as we get older, okay? I want to put that out there as well. But piggybacking off of what Ash said about a person that may take a certain hit or use recreational drugs to lower their overwhelmingness, that is only because they were not allowed to be accepted.
They weren't given the tools.
Right.
They weren't given the tools.
They weren't allowed to be accepted. And sometimes even if you may, and this is from my personal experience, and this is just from seeing observation, a person could have all the tools surrounding them, but because of the environment that they embedded themselves in, or the environment that they are just stuck in subconsciously, it can't be nourished. Their overwhelmingness cannot be nourished. So it causes them to that euphoria. It causes them to have that euphoria because now you're outside of your body, and you have suppressed the need of understanding you. All you want to get away from is what is wrong with you. This is where I was going with it.
Nothing's wrong with them.
Nothing is wrong with you. Nothing is wrong with you, okay? And that's why I said, like, we all, even current day, because the older we get, the more intensified it's going to get. Especially if you're yielding to it. If you're not yielding to it, it's going to become chaotic.
Yeah, you're only gonna learn more. It's all about how you know.
It's also not gonna go anywhere. It's just gonna. It's
like a ball of yarn.
And you can't box it.
Yeah, no.
If you box it, you only killing yourself. And the moment you become unteachable, you have already died.
Yeah, it'll come out in bad ways. Anytime you suppress anything, it's bottling emotions. Forget it.
Because then it's funny because it's like most people who want to suppress want control, but in reality they actually are making themselves completely uncontrollable.
Yeah, exactly, and you're losing control. Anytime you try to control something, you're lost control because you lost control of trying to control. It's crazy because it's true. Like, you can't control anything, truthfully.
Besides ourselves, and that only takes with sitting down, honing, and practicing, having business meetings with ourselves, reevaluating things, reflecting, giving ourselves grace, not just sitting with ourselves and just being like, wow, you're a piece of shit and you suck so bad. Like, that's not going to get you anywhere.
Everybody
That's
shits.
And people do that
Everybody
all
shits.
the time, you know?
Everybody just, and when that thought come in your mind, like, yo, I'm shitty. No, remember, everybody shits.
Everybody shitty.
So if everybody shits, then that means somebody, somewhere they were shitty in some form of way, but you do better.
Yeah.
You level up.
I think it's fun. I think it's fun when you start adding humor to it, like when your brain starts being like, yo, I don't like the way this looks, so this, that, and third. And then you're like, all right, who asked you? Like, you say that voice and it's like, all right, who asked you?
Yeah,
that's not even you. Half the
that's
time
fire.
it's like your parents, your older siblings, whoever, your teacher, whoever it was that like was super critical on you. Half the times it's not even your own voice that's saying that. It's like a disguise. You know, you pull
It's a projection.
you switch the tune off and you're like, that's not even my voice. Like, that's
I mean,
crazy.
truthfully, you think about any self-conscious thing, it's because of somebody else. It's never because of you. Even if you think it is, it's not. It's because of what somebody else will think. It's not because of what you think, truthfully. Even if you think so.
But just think of your
I'm
first
telling you, even if you think so.
Think of your first teachers. Whoever was your first teachers, whoever, it could be your parents. Everybody not really what they brought, but it could be your parents. It could probably be your grandmother. Whoever was a part of your community that helped you in your development in those first 5 years, because that's how our brains, like as humans, our first 5 years of our development as humans, our brains are like sponges.
Right.
So we absorb a lot. And when you think of your first teachers, most of the things that you probably do in current day, even if you outgrew certain things you do from your first teachers. So when you said what you may take note to, it is something that you have been taught in a certain way, but how much do you want to dwell in it? How much do you want to invest in it? How much do you want to feed it? Like,
I mean, it's crazy because until we're 12 years old, we learn everything through our eyes, and a lot of people don't know that. Like, till we're 12 years old, we learn everything through our eyes, and that's why, like, if a baby's blind until 12, they have like the lowest chance of survival. So if you're blind after 12, you'll be all right. It's crazy.
well,
That's
I'm
that
blind.
you could Google
I'm blind. I'm not blind, but I'm blind.
Yeah.
I'm not. I have that.
Yeah, look, I was looking. I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, that's what the
No,
race-
Before or after 12. Before or after 12.
Man, that would have sucked. That would have sucked. I was like, wait a minute. Where's anything? The dog, something.
I do
just
have
see
bad
something.
eyes. No, but I do have bad eyes. But I use that to my advantage too. I'm not even trying to be funny. I really use that to my advantage because you know when one sense is bad, another sense is enhanced.
Titan.
So because I know I have bad, my eyes are bad. My hearing is heightened. And lately I've been so big on being in the silence, like literally in the silence, because there's always noise around us. But in your own environment, I've been really big on the silence. And because I know my hearing is heightened, it's very important to listen to the different frequencies that's around us because of the simple fact of knowing that I have a certain ability to observe, just take in certain things. And being able to sit in that silence, you're understanding why certain things go on. When you fear your thoughts, and you fear what is going to happen with you having to sit in your thoughts, once again, you fail yourself.
Yeah, it's like a waste of time.
You can't be scared. If you're scared of yourself, then you're not going to heal. And that is what the big component is with healing, and the big component with being able to really balance your thoughts and not be too heavy on yourself and not be too hard on yourself and not feel like you're doing something wrong because you have to speak. And also understanding that if you don't have a safe space or a safe person to be a safe space, then you have to know what outlet is going to work for you. If it's writing, if it's a book, if it's going for a walk, whatever it is to help balance you, you got to do it because it's needed. It's needed so you don't go into that dark path. That dark path of let me do a psychedelic type of drug to be able to feel what is going on. But you're going to come down from that high. Remember that.
All that shit is going to be there.
And it's going to be an overwhelming crash, and you're still going to want to get back to that high again. And now you're in a bad cycle when you could have just sat in a little bit of silence. And you can manifest. You can manifest a lot of things. Speaking of that, you don't do that. You can manifest.
What's in this tea?
Don't do that. You can manifest. Stop. You can manifest a lot of things for yourself when you start transforming your brain. This was manifest, believe it or not.
Of course
for
it is.
sure.
This was manifest. You
sure.
out there may not know it, but this was manifest. Ash, no, our bond was manifested in its own way. Our first setting. So you have.
Yeah, right. You know what's interesting? I always think about, like, just think about all three of us, our entire lives to this one point. Right now, you know what I'm saying? Like, even today, just today, like, everything that you did, I don't know what the fuck you did. I don't know what you did today, but we all, right? Like, you ever, you know.
And mind you, we had so many different
crazy.
chain of events of different things that happen within our day to get us to this point,
That's what
to
I'm
be
saying.
able to even get what
Exactly.
we have to get out.
Right.
Knowing that we had to be here in this moment to give whatever was needed. And being okay with being vulnerable.
Life is ironic, but it's beautiful.
Life is, you
Yeah.
know what?
It's a
And
trip.
that's it.
It's a life is a trip, but
It's
it's
a
worth it.
trip, but it's worth it.
It's
a
worth
good
the trip. If you want to take the trip, if you allow yourself to really have good people surrounding you and really be able to detect when people try to play good and not be good, let me tell you, it comes with life. Nobody's life is perfect. The Kardashians is a prime example. Nobody's life is perfect, okay? I'm sorry to put that there. No. Nobody's life is perfect, okay? So just always remember that too. If you thinking you living in a struggle, trust me, there's somebody out there that you think is wealthy living in a probably even more struggle.
Yeah.
They just got money.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Everybody deals with their own shit. That's why sometimes I've heard people like, "Oh, how was this person depressed? They had everything." But you know, what's crazy is like that's how the brain is. That's how the brain works. Those are the delusions creep in, and it's like at the end of the day, bro, you're always gonna have everything that you need. You know, it's just like it's about accepting that. It's like that half full, half empty complex thing. So it's just.
And whatever
Perception.
is put on us, we could bear it. You have to
Yeah,
remember that
of
you
course.
could bear it. Like, if you start feeling like you can't bear it, like, and my heart really goes out for people that,
Yeah,
because I
I know that feeling. I feel
understand,
it.
like, when I say, I just had a conversation with somebody about that this week, like, explaining, like, I get why celebrities feel the certain way that they feel and be like, but then when you, once again, I had to tell them, when I sit down and sit with myself and really take the time and really pay attention and know that it's bigger than me. It's way bigger than me. I don't care if you don't like me today, you're going to love me tomorrow because there's something that I'm going to say that's going to make you reflect. And I don't care. Actually,
That's manifestation
I
in
don't
itself.
I don't care that you didn't like certain things. Maybe the delivery was wrong, but if I didn't give that delivery, you probably won't remember what I said. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
everything
At the
for
end
a
of the
reason
day, you
type of
can't be
shit.
everybody's cup of tea. Everybody is not supposed to like you.
Nah.
You know what I mean? It's like people can like you, people can resonate with you, people can also are entitled to not like you and to not resonate with you. I just ask that people move with grace, and if you feel that way, then just do that. You know what I mean? And if you don't feel that way, then show that. You
Right.
know, like
Hey.
it's like, cause I know for me, like when I love with the tip of my hair to the bottom of my toes. I love, and it's like everybody knows that I love whoever and whatever that is, and that could be my friend, that could be my partner, that could be whoever it is. But if I'm showing love and I'm showing support, that's how I always am, and I'm not afraid to show love and support.
I think you should be. I think it's like one of those things. Like you got to give to get.
I'm not gonna
Yeah.
hold you. My love as time has come with conditions, and rightfully so. Like before, because I know I'm a giver, and I know like because I'm a giver, and I just know. So it has came with conditions because a person that lacks certain things like love or understanding the capacity of love, they yearn for that when you come into a room. You understand what I mean firsthand. They yearn for that firsthand. So when you're able to pick up on that, it's like you have to condition yourself. It has to come with a certain condition. It's like putting them at arm length, but at the same time they could touch the tip of your finger. That's the only thing they could touch. That's it. You get what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, there's boundaries though.
Yeah.
And that's love though. That's the thing, is that's still
Loving
love.
yourself.
You know, it's like that's appreciation, love, and value for yourself, and then you're expressing that through somebody else by meeting them where they're at. You know, I feel like that's the only way to be if you want to move without feeling resentment for being drained. Like, that's really it. You know, or else you just allow yourself to get zapped and be like, oh, I can't be around this fucking person. You know what I mean? So you gotta just be straight up.
Nah,
You know,
yeah,
but it takes it's not an easy and overnight thing. Like, you know,
it
that's
has
just
to be
something.
exercised.
That's something that you learn throughout time of and you're gonna have fuck ups where, like, I know, like, I literally said to somebody, like, yo, every time I'm on the phone with you, I feel like I want to, like, punch myself in the face. And I know that's harsh, and I know that's maybe that was wrong of me. I don't know, but that's
think
like
we all
how I
have that
felt.
type of
Like,
person.
and that was the first time I ever told somebody and expressed to them, like, wow, like, you're like, I can't be on the phone with you because they kept
Can't
calling me
even
and
hear
calling
you.
me and
Talking
calling
on the
me.
phone like that,
And
yeah.
like, that's
I
like
really don't
that
like
was the
talking on
start
the
of it.
phone.
You know, that was the start of it
Text
for me.
And
Nah, yeah,
my phone
100%.
lives on do not. My phone lives on do not disturb. Like, I only have like a selective few that could really, like, can call and get through to me, and that's because they're in my favorites. But yeah, because even when you talking on the phone, like, you pick up so much of what people aren't saying,
The feeling.
and you realize that, you know, when you start talking, and especially when you picking up on what they're not saying, and they're not like, I didn't mean that, and it's like, what do you mean? Like, so now you feel wrong that you picked up what they was trying to run all around, but really and truly they wanted you to pick it up. That's why they called you.
Well, that's another gateway into mania because, yo, like, how many times
that's-
is someone not saying
Yo,
anything, and then
if
you
I could
literally
like, don't
Like,
call me.
hello.
I'm quick to be like, do
and you're
not
like,
call
boom,
me if you don't want to
here's
hear
everything.
what I gotta say.
Here are all
please.
my thoughts, and here are my thoughts on what your thoughts are that you're not saying. Like,
Because I know what you're thinking.
exactly, because you hit a
Don't
certain
tell me
point when
different.
you're sensitive, right? Now it's like you hit a certain point, like, you're sensitive, and listen, there's delusion that does get thrown in there. I want to be clear on that. Like, it's not like
I tell myself
Well,
that too. Don't
it's
get
not like
delusional.
it's not like it's 100%. You know,
could
like,
be
that's
right
like,
about something, and then it'll cause, because that person is lying to you.
It will
though,
turn to
it'll
delusion.
cause-
Yes,
but it's still real.
Exactly.
'Cause they're
It's
making
still
it
real.
your own
It's still
reality.
based in a true feeling that you're picking up that either they're not ready to express, or, like, I feel like that happens a lot with
It does
relationship
happen. It
dynamics. It
happen
happens a
all the-
lot, especially in that, because when you're engaging with someone intimately, like,
just know.
whether it's like, you know, this or that, like, you feel when if you say to your partner and you're like I know for sure, like, when I'm around my girl and she's like, something's going on, and I'm like, what's going on? And she's like, nothing. I'm like, nah, like, something's happening. Like, you know. And then if you start bugging out and you're like, you know, like, then it's like, why you out like that? You know what I'm saying? That could happen in so many different spaces, or even people that you're not together with anymore, or whatever the case is. Like, and, like, whatever space is left unsaid, then you're left to be the crazy person because you decided to speak on what you are feeling is truth and it is existing between a space. And that's not only subject to relationships. I feel like it's just heightened and more prone
It's
to
just-
relationships
yeah, 'cause
because of the interconnectedness of intimacy.
The intensity that comes with the relationships, especially depending on what dynamic of relationship that is.
That's an
whether
amazing
it's
dilemma.
healthy, whether it's toxic. I mean, whether it's same sex, whether it's, you know, interracial. Like, it comes with such an intensity, and most of the time, people that really go in relationships, what are they dealing with? Hurt. So, if a person is not really taking the time to once again heal themselves, what a person is not saying, it is gonna come off as manic because they're not even understanding their hurt. They're not understanding that you see their hurt, which is causing y'all to be connected to each other. Oh my gosh, I just said a word. because the people that are drawn to us are reflections of us, believe it or not.
And of wherever we're at.
Yeah, it could be a reflection of where we're at. It could have been a reflection of where we've been. And it also could be a reflection of where you're supposed to go. And a lot of times, people don't just as entities, as vessels, we don't take the time to see what is before us. Meaning, like, a very important person in my life used to say what you're going to is greater than what you're going through. So, and meaning, even though you're going through something, you're going through a little rocky waters or whatever, what you're going to is going to be so much greater that you going through these rocky waters is going to be like you drinking a fresh glass of water.
No, yeah, I mean, there's that other saying, too, and it's like, you're going through hell, keep going. Why are you going to stop in hell and just sit there and look around? For what? Just keep going. Because at the end of the day, it's going to be the end of the day. I always tell people everything's going to be all right, because eventually it's going to be all right. Everything that you've ever worried about bothered you at some point, it was all right. There was a day it was all right. It's crazy.
Well, that's the thing. It's like sometimes emotions feel like they're permanent, but they're just flowing through us, you know. So it's just, and that's the thing too about like the excitement as well. Like we gotta, I think it's like, you know, it's hard to feel that with sadness, and it's hard to feel that with excitement, because we're like, oh, this feels so good, and then our brain is like, endorphins. Every time I want to feel good, let me go back to that. Like, let me get that oxytocin, let me get that dose, and that's how addictions get formed. Exactly, and it's just about like tuning into that, and like sometimes that can look like expression, sometimes that could come out like tapping in or being manic. So, yeah, if you guys are good with everything, unless you guys have anything you want to share in particular.
But thank you for having me.
Yeah, go ahead. You can go ahead and go. Yeah, go ahead.
I don't
Go ahead.
know.
Yeah, go. Don't.
Nah, this was great. This was also like I just want everybody to know, like, this was a healing for us as well.
Absolutely.
And I know, especially for Ash and myself, especially on being spiritual beings, and understanding, we come from two different backgrounds, but it's so genuine, and it's so I can't get the right word, but it's so amazing how even though you come from different generations or different bloodlines, how we both are unified. And it's very important, because in that you see how fellowship comes about. You see how community is formed. You see how you just have a different form of networking, and it is also, once again, for the light. So the people that are watching, be cautious of your communities, be cautious of your circle. You know, birds of a feather, what is it?
Flock together.
Birds of a feather flock together. So if you know the group that you may be around right now is not something that is flocking to a higherness, then maybe you need to change the frequency of your community. Maybe you need to change the frequency of your fellowship. Or maybe you just need to take time and be by yourself and go and revisit your fellowship. It's okay, because that is what is going to help you be have foundation within yourself. And that's it. Self-love is the best love. You don't have that, you can't love nobody else, and you can't take care of nobody else if you don't take care of yourself. That's all.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too. Thank you so much for coming up on here. Thank you for sharing. I'm feeling to play the root bowl. But before I do that, I'm just going to post some cards for anybody who's still tuned in and who would like to have an energy report, energy forecast, whatever you'd like to call it. Yeah, I was going to say, I'm like, you can come back up if you wanted to. I'm like, I'm going to end off with a, yeah, exactly. I'm going to do a quick reading and then play the bowl. We'll say our final goodbye. So today I brought the crown chakra bowl and the root chakra bowl, and before the podcast I played the crown chakra bowl, because that's just what it felt like, you know, and that one was for us. And the thing is like, because we played that before we came on here, we were vibrating with that energy. So y'all received that through this podcast. And, you know, through the airwaves, through the vibration. So now, you know, after this, we'll do the same thing with Root, because I feel like everybody can use a nice little anchor. And if you're listening to this podcast, you probably need to get grounded just as well as us. So,
or if you passing by, like, one can reach 1,000, 1,000 can reach 10,000, and it goes on and on and on and on. So, look,
like wildfire,
like a wildfire, but we ain't wild.
So I pray in a good way, Great Spirit. May I be used as a vehicle for the betterment of the community, of anyone who is listening to this, and anyone who would like to receive a message here and now, whenever it is that they are listening to it. What is it that we are needed to surrender to right now? Yeah, it's the same one as last week. Surrender to the idea that you can fix someone. It is time for a relationship to shift. It does not work to try to fix someone. Each person must be accountable for his or her own healing. So this is the surrendering card that's coming in.
Does that go back to what I just said?
What?
You can't take care of anybody before you take care of yourself.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Right,
it goes
okay,
into
right,
what you just
sorry,
said. And on top of it, it's like everything that we're talking about, like when it comes to control, is like, yo, at the end of the day, like even if we're looking at it, like control could genuinely be coming from a space of like, yo, I love you and I want you to do better.
This
right?
is very true, and it can be very aggressive, but it's annoying.
It's annoying, and it's
usually
also
from a place of intense, like
love.
Attachment,
and then it's also a neglect of self. Like,
yeah.
and I have to constantly tell myself that, because I love, like, when it comes to anybody around me, like, I'll be very quick to say something like, yo, if you just do this, and I'm like, oh, but I'm invalidated. And I'm like, not
out the mouth.
Exactly. And then I'm actually hurting and perpetuating trauma rather than
ready
healing
for it.
from it.
They're not ready.
They're not ready for it. And then also at the same token, who the fuck am I to say that? Maybe in that moment I need to be checking my finances.
You're right.
Maybe in that moment I need to be working out or eating better. You know what I'm saying?
But there's a reason for everything.
Yeah.
That's where it goes back to, because if it wasn't supposed to be, it would not be.
But as long as it's consensual. That's the thing. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes I'm just like,
right,
here's how I feel.
You're right, because I had to learn that with my friends too. I had to learn it with my friends too, and some of the people that
it's about checking ourselves too.
I mean, but
there's a balance. Sometimes it needs to be said in the air, because no one's gonna ever ask.
Nobody's gonna say it, and it needs to be. You know exactly it. Like,
sometimes it needs to be said. Like, sometimes, especially when it's like impeding on your own boundaries and you've already said it in other ways.
Or it's damaging the person, and they really need to hear it. But everybody surrounding them is like, "Nah, I don't want to say it. I don't want to say it. I don't want to say it." No,
but still,
you
in
need
that,
to say it.
But in that light, I still fully believe in being like, yo. Are you open to hearing this feedback?
I know.
Do you want some feedback?
Because
if they tell you no, you can scream it in their face. You can etch it in their skin.
They're not gonna receive it.
Okay, you're right. All right, you're right. But you know what I'm saying.
It's the Capricorn Cancer energy for me.
It's the accent. No,
I do. No, I really do.
I'm saying.
You're like tough love, and I'm like consent.
But you know that I know also, like, no, because I believe gentle love really do help people, but some people, and I know I need gentle love. You know this. I know I need gentle love. But at the same time, that tough love is sometimes what a person need, because it just gives
like
them that
zings.
reality check. It automatically is like, oh my God, why are you saying this to me? Like, somebody said this to me.
Sometimes I can't be paused. Like, I get that. Like, and I do appreciate that when certain people are like super transparent like that. Right? And then there's other times where it's like you can still give tough love if you're just like, yo, you open for feedback? This is how I actually feel about it. Because then it's like, okay, boom. Because like in that moment they're like, yo, am I open to receive? Because they have to check in with themselves. So now it's giving that, okay, am I actually open to receive? And they're like, oh, I guess I'm not. no, I don't want your feedback, actually.
And the only reason why they're not open to receive it because you're directly pointing at them. But if they was in a room and it was the same thing being said, but it's not like a magnifying glass being pointed on them, they would be able to take it.
It depends, though, because I feel like at times, me personally, as a person who's like, which I know all of us can relate to, being like a sponge, I needed to not have feedback. Like, I took off all the feedback from my story. You couldn't like my stuff. You couldn't comment on nothing. Like, I didn't want good or bad feedback. I just wanted to know that I was doing things for myself. And, like, I didn't care what other people were going to say. I did care. That's the reason why I needed to put a boundary on it. So I feel like there's room for people that are doing that process.
I'm not
too,
going to say
what
what
I'm
you're
saying?
doing. I'm not going to say it because but I know why. But I'm not going to say, well, I got you. Because I know why you had to do it. I know why. And I know why you had to do it, but I'm not going to.
Thing. Yeah, no, I needed to go through that. Like, that was a people-pleasing thing. I was like trying to unpeople
that's a
please
whole
myself.
nother. That's a whole
other pod.
Yeah,
that's
like I'm just like I already know what you're.
Yeah,
so I'm not even
yeah,
doing that because that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
I'm opening up, and I'm not doing that.
No, that's fine. I know why I did it too. It's okay.
Thank you.
I have
All right.
compassion for little me.
I'm happy you said that. Little me, and you're not little me. You're big me now.
Exactly.
All right, let's calm down.
So you put 3 of us on this episode for a reason. It's gonna be hard for us to calm down. But I'm praying in a good way to find what is it that we should be strengthening in the relationship with ourselves. Originality. The frequency of originality. I've literally never pulled this card. Well, this is a new deck, but still. The frequency of originality supports our capacity to be unique and original, creators of unlimited possibilities in every moment.
Okay.
Be your own source. Be your own source.
With a T, not a D. Period.
Period. Period.
No, no, don't even do it. Don't do it. No, don't
So
do
back to the reading. Back to the reading. What is something that... Do either of y'all have a question?
it. No, we enjoying you. Come on.
Yeah, no.
Do either of y'all have a question for the final deck?
No.
This was, what do we need to surrender to? What do we need to strengthen in the relationship with ourselves? What's the third question?
I mean, the way you're wording those questions, I can't even come up with something like that. You got it.
And this goes back to what you just finished saying. How you
what do I need to strengthen?
That's why you didn't need feedback. So you can be able to do this and not ask, what question do you have? Because this is your. Come on, go with me.
What do I need?
Stop. Now I had to say it and I was trying to even say it.
What do we need to focus on at this time?
Yeah, I guess.
Financial discipline.
Ooh, look at that.
So really, if I were to put this reading in a sentence for anybody that's listening, is surrender to the fact that we can't fix or control anyone else around us. The best way to inspire change is to be it. Allow yourself to be the source and be credible. Allow yourself to be credible enough to create things that are coming directly from you. And although, of course, it'll always be your inspirations and your teachers and your ancestors, allow it to come from a place of like stillness within you, and not something that you're Googling to kind of get inspired from, and allow it to be organic, and allow yourself to, when I look at the financial discipline, I look at the space of like allowing yourself to know that you deserve finances and you deserve to be compensated for the things that you do, especially when you're working out of light and out of the consciousness and the way of so many people. To people like us deserve to be very wealthy. Not only are we wealthy in spirit, but we deserve to be compensated in a really good way, not just because we're good people, but because we're going to pour it back into the community, and to remind ourselves to nourish that relationship with finances, that we are worthy of it, not only because of whatever reasons we could think of, but because it's what we're doing has value. The same way that we go and we purchase things and we find value in it, we are worthy of that value. And the more that we see it within ourselves, I want to invite each and every one of you that is listening, including all 3 of us up here and everyone in this room, is that to know you are valuable, and what feels good for you financially to work with isn't too much. And I'll leave off on that. And I'm gonna hit this bowl real quick, and then we're gonna be out.
Out.
Literally.
Oh my God, literally hits the bowl.
I thought she was about to pull out a wee bowl, like a little bowl.
I'm not.
We're in a bowl.
No, that's a big bowl. Oh my goodness! Wow, that was not intentional.
Oh
but it was.
no.
It's good though. I got nervous. I was like, I thought it cracked.
You a sauce. You laugh. I'm serious.
Alright, so wherever you're at, if you want to just take a moment to have this little mini business meeting with yourself and ground into the earth, just take a seat if you can, or close your eyes whenever you feel comfortable. Allow yourself to take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Release any tension in your shoulders and your jaw and your back, and allow yourself to acknowledge and highlight every part of your body going until your feet. And when you reach your feet, growing roots to the sound of this vibration, may the vibration of this bowl remind you of your connection with the earth and the fact that you can root and ground yourself at any moment you need to. And it won't take away from any height that you have, it'll just stabilize you.
That felt wow.
I'm in this space, just taking a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Saying your name 3 times, whether in your head or out loud. And introducing yourself back into the space. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune in with us and to go up with us and to come down with us and all the journey in between. We appreciate y'all for listening, and thank you guys so much for coming on.
That was cool.
Thank you, Ash.
Appreciate you.
You're
I wish they
welcome.
could feel it, but
No, that was something.
They might. Vibration works in a good way, you know. So, yeah, especially if y'all got headphones on or if you're in the car.
if you
The
have
vibration,
headphones
you
in,
literally
could
feel it
definitely-
through the
you
phone.
could definitely hear
It's
the circle.
crazy.
Yeah.
Like when I have it on my phone and I record it, you feel it. Like,
Yeah.
you feel the vibration.
You
When I was
hear the
crazy.
different waves.
No, that's,
Yeah.
that was a real vibration.
We about to start up again, but we
Yeah, I know. We about to do that. All right, so.
Duality is blue. If you
Oh
didn't know,
my goodness.
duality is blue.
All right, y'all.
Oh my gosh.
It's been real. It's been nice. Thank you for taking this journey with us. And I'll talk to y'all soon. We'll be back next Wednesday, 10:30. And I'll have that flyer out soon. All right, take care.